Rebekah. I am 24. I'm a primary school teacher by day, and by night I like to do ballet. I play the French horn. I play in a community concert band, which is awesome. And I love to make things. I love to cook. I love to crochet. I love to draw and to colour. And I like to make music. So I was diagnosed with CF when I was 6 weeks old, after my parents got my newborn screening test results back, and I was living in Melbourne at the time. So I was admitted to hospital, and my parents were taught how to look after me, which was very important. I think growing up, I've always been pretty healthy. I've had IV antibiotics when I was almost 4. And that's the only time I've had IV antibiotics or a tune-up or anything. My main problems with CF are my sinuses. So I have CF sinus disease, and I've had my sinuses cleared a few times, which has been very beneficial. But other than that, I lead a pretty healthy life. My lung function is crazy high. It's high for someone my age. I do have type 1 diabetes as well. That was diagnosed actually by my CF clinic as part of their screening for cystic fibrosis related diabetes when I was 12. So it's been an interesting experience learning how CF and type 1 diabetes work together, and how to, meet the needs of my body in 2 different ways as well. So that's me. I just started Trikafta 3 weeks ago, which is exciting. It's quite incredible to see how far science has come in my lifetime, and I'm very thankful for that. It's going great. I had the purge. I had a good day of just clearing stuff out of my lungs, and then probably a week, maybe 10 days of just constant postnasal drip, which drove me a little bit nutty because I had a sore throat from all the irritation and everything. But it's been fantastic. I've had more energy. I started to realize how tired I was, and how tired I didn't know my lungs were tired at the end of the day, until after a few days I went, my lungs are not tired. This is a new experience. This is strange but good. I've woken up in the morning and actually been ready to wake up, rather than it feeling like it taking me half an hour to get out of bed and to actually start functioning for the day as well. And just generally, I'm so much clearer. I've had a family friend tell me on the weekend that I sound so much less congested than I used to when they saw me last. So it's been fantastic. So when I was about 7 years old in year 2, we had to do an activity where we drew a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up, and we wrote about it. And to this day, the best person in my life and the person I look up to the most is my mum. And so I wrote that I wanted to be a mum when I grew up, because I couldn't think of anything better, because she was the best person I knew. So she clearly had her life figured out. And I had a girl in my class go off at me about how that wasn't a real job. And as a 7-year-old, that stressed me out. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, she didn't ask what we wanted to do. She asked what we wanted to be. What am I going to do as a job? And at some point I just settled on, I want to be a teacher. I like coming to school. I like my teachers. I want to stay working in schools. I want to be a teacher. And that was pretty consistent from the age of 7 up until now. Aside from 2 weeks in year 11, when I went and saw The Lion King on stage as a musical, and I thought for about 2 weeks, I'm going to be a professional musician. I'm going to play for musicals. I'm going to play in film scores. And then I remembered I have CF, and it's probably not best to put all my eggs in a bucket that requires my lungs to function normally. So I went back to the idea of teaching. I finished high school at the end of 2015 and was straight into uni for the next semester. I studied a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Education, and at the end of 2019, I completed that. I'm yet to graduate thanks to COVID. Hopefully that's on the cards soon. But this is my 3rd year out teaching, and I teach in a mainstream primary school, and I teach a class of year 1 and year 2 students, and it's fantastic. I love what I do. I think my primary concern, if I had any in regards to my health and working, was just getting time off to go to clinic. because growing up you just took an afternoon or a morning or whatever you needed off school, and that was normally fine. There was always a medical certificate, and I thought, how is that going to work as a teacher who's responsible for teaching children if I have to go and to clinics every couple of months? How's that going to work? Are they going to be able to cover me? Am I going to have to do it in the school holidays? How's that all going to work? And so far that's been fine. Both the schools I've worked at actually have been fantastic in giving me that time off. They make it very clear that that's something I need to do to be able to teach and to come to work. And so they do everything they can to support me, which has been fantastic. My other concern was just, I guess, if you get sick, if I get sick, what am I going to do? Will I have enough sick leave? And they've reassured me that no matter what happens, I might have to take unpaid leave if I haven't got enough banked, but that I'll always be supported by them, which is great. But in my last year of university, I started to apply for my casual number in New South Wales. And as part of that process, I had the option, and I was encouraged to declare any underlying illnesses just so that they were aware in case of WHS issues or anything. And once I declared, yes, I have cystic fibrosis and type 1 diabetes, I was required to provide a medical certificate for each illness, entailing whether I could work full-time, could I work part-time, just so that the department was aware of what I could do. So I was able to get those from my two teams to say, yep, she can work full-time, that's fine. And then I could continue the process. It held me up a little bit, which was frustrating, but it was important to get it done right. And then when I started at my current school, I already knew one of the executive school staff members who was on the work health and safety team, and he was already aware of some of my health needs, but they've helped me to build a healthcare plan and to go through that with the work health and safety team so they understand what supports I need to be able to work and to stay healthy. So I talk primarily with my CF specialist and also with my endocrinologist, just to see what things I should be adding in there. There's been a few cases, particularly with lockdowns in the last 2 years and other things that have just come up that have surprised me, where I've been able to call my CF nurse and just ask a few questions, say, hey, should I be concerned about this? How do I word it, do you think, to put into a healthcare plan, which has been really good. So yeah, that's been good, primarily them. I think it shocked a lot of particularly my university lecturers, that I had to provide documentation to say I could work. You can't get help if people don't understand or even have any idea or knowledge that there's something going on. No questions are ever asked if I need to take a sick day. I've had a few days where one day I got to 11:30, not even maybe 11 a.m. and I went and saw my supervisor and said, I need to go home. I cannot think straight. I'm exhausted. Something's not right. I need to go home and rest. And there were no questions asked. It was just, go. We'll split your kids. Don't worry about it. We'll we'll shut up your room. Just get in your car and go home. Go and rest. Don't come back to work tomorrow unless you really feel like you're up to it. So it's been great. There's been, no questions are asked. They're very supportive. I love talking about CF now. I guess it's because I can see how it benefits other people to learn about it. So as part of my healthcare plan last year, we actually put together a box primarily for my type 1 diabetes, but there's also a few things in there if I get dehydrated. And I took that down to our communication meeting one morning and just showed them the box, talked about what CF and type 1 diabetes are, and went through what they can do to help me. And kind of the teachers on stage 1 who I work closely with, we've had lots of conversations about my health, even things like starting Trikafta. I said, I'm going to have a day off. And the next day, like, oh, how are you? And I'm like, don't listen to me. I sound revolting, but it's good. It's meant to be doing this. I'm okay. Don't worry. So yeah, it's been really good to have colleagues, I guess, that are really receptive and happy to talk about that kind of thing, but also really encouraging as well. For the most part, I find people, particularly that I've worked with, have been really supportive and also just really, if they've got a question, they'll ask, but otherwise they mind their own business, which is good. So even though the mask mandate for teachers has been lifted, definitely in New South Wales and I think in some other states, I'm still wearing a mask probably 90% of the time I'm at work, even outside, just to protect myself. We've had influenza rip through my school, so it's been really good. I actually stopped and went, I've only just had my flu shot last week. How come I haven't picked this up off my kids? And someone said, because you wear a mask all the time. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. This is why I wear a mask. So I think particularly just with COVID, I think it's normalised wearing masks and staying home when we're sick and having good hand hygiene, which has been really good. So we've got lots of routines in my classroom about good hand hygiene. My kids know that before they eat and when they come in the morning, they must wash their hands with soap and water. And anytime they come into the classroom, anytime another student comes into the classroom, they need to sanitize their hands. We've got hand sanitizer on their table so that when they're doing reading groups and rotating activities, they can clean their hands before they start the activity. And they're really good at helping me in the afternoon to wipe down their desks and everything as well, just so that we know it's clean. But they've been really good. For 6 and 7-year-olds, they're very supportive and they're very switched on, which is lovely to have. I guess the other thing is that people have been more mindful this year after 2 years of COVID and lockdowns. They've staying home when they're not well, which has been really helpful as well. I had a laugh with my specialist recently where I'd cultured a bacteria that we've managed to get rid of, thank goodness, and talking about different options that there were. And we were trialling option A, but there'd be other options. And option C was that I might actually have to give up the fight and come in for some IV antibiotics. And as much as I didn't want to have that conversation, we did have a laugh about how ridiculous it was that at 24, that's the discussion we're having, and we're not talking about a transplant list. So they're not thoughts that I've had to, or even things I've had to talk about really too much. But I know that one of the good things about teaching is there's lots of options. I'm able to go down to part-time if I need to. If I'm finding that even part-time's too much and I just want to be able to work when I feel well, then I can go down to casual. There's lots of casual work around at the moment, that's for sure. I definitely wouldn't be without work if I wanted it. But yeah, for the most part, I'm very fortunate that they are not thoughts I've had to dwell on or I've had to voice at all at this point. My class last year, my class this year, the first lesson that we do is, it could be titled Miss Davison 101, Keeping Your Teacher Alive. But yeah, we talk about CF and what CF is. There's a fantastic video that my mum found when I was in high school to show to some of my teachers at school. I think it's a UK one. It's called Being Nosy About CF with Ollie and Nush. And it's this gorgeous cartoon, and they go through lots of the different CF things, like what a nebulizer is, what are those tablets that you've got to have when you eat. And so we watch that and we talk about that as a class, and they're really receptive to that. We then also have to have the diabetes talk and talk about what do you do in an emergency. And often in the morning, because I was on Symdeco before I started Trikafta, I'd hit kind of the 2-hour mark or the 3-hour mark, and I'd have like quite a bit of a cough because I'd been talking a lot, using my lungs a lot, projecting my voice, and they were quite used to that. Sometimes they'd be a bit concerned, but after a couple of weeks of being in my class, they knew that was just normal. And one of my kids made the comment to me last week that I don't cough anymore now that I've started Trikafta. You stopped coughing. I never hear you cough now, which is just such a good reminder to me that it's working and it's doing what it's meant to do. And I love that they're excited for me about it. I think we definitely have challenging days, but I guess the exhaustion doesn't come, I don't think, from having CF. It's just part of being a teacher, and it's part of that workload, particularly the duty of care, particularly in the area that I'm in and the kids that I work with. The kids are very vulnerable, and sometimes things happen that you have to deal with, and it's hard. But I think, quite honestly, having CF has taught me to have really good work-life balance skills. I'm really good at not bringing work home because I don't have time to do work at home, because I come home and I do my physio and I do other medications. I've got to eat dinner, I've got to get myself ready so that I can get up and get ready straight away in the morning so I can get back to work tomorrow. So yeah, it's everyone asks me, what's your work-life balance like? Do you have view time? I'm like, oh, trust me, once I step out that gate, I do no schoolwork. It doesn't happen at home. I can take it home and it just comes along for a holiday. It goes right back again the next day, not finished. Yeah, it's an incredible job. It's hard work, don't get me wrong. It is mentally and emotionally and physically exhausting. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything else. It's definitely what I was meant to do.